English, mother. Do you speak it?
No, seriously. The vibe you're giving off is not approach me, I'm into you. It's more like I'm scared, please don't hurt me. You ladies are very bad at giving signals, and I think that's on purpose. Because by just giving signals, you can make up any narrative that fits your interest. And what's the guy gonna say? Well, she hinted that she's interested with subtle tips of body language? Nah, we don't play that game anymore. So speak up or stay single.
There are a lot of men that are terrified to talk to women right now.
We are not afraid of you.
Men, you gotta do better about handling rejection. You're gonna get 1,000 no's before you get a single yes.
Which is a waste of energy. And after 1,000 no's, that single yes kinda lost its charm.
But you also gotta be careful that you don't come off too desperate, because that is a massive turnoff.
Fascinating. No one cares!
Sweetie, you might not be aware, but we don't have time to engage with 1,000 women. We're busy with man stuff. So I'm gonna tell you the same thing I told the girl before you. Your mouth isn't there just for smoking eggplants. So woman up and talk to us. Otherwise, we'll just ignore you.
And shout out to your podcast. Talk about your podcast.
The Dirty Blonde podcast. I created it during a time when I had to find some other way to be creative and entertaining, and I realized that if people are willing to Google my then they can listen to my mouth.
But sweetie, we've already listened to your mouth. 'Cause thanks to your industry content, we've already heard your words of wisdom like, oh God, don't stop, and various other sounds, grunts, and gurgles. See, what I'm trying to say is, you're very good in the cornfield. I suggest you stay there.
And I realized that a lot of these men didn't like their wives.
I've been seeing a lot of videos about this phenomenon of men who don't really like their wives, and I wanted to share my experience. I got my first boyfriend in college, and he was 13 years older than me.
And that being said, guys, when a woman over 30 says you're creepy for dating a 21-year-old, remember, it wasn't creepy when she was doing it.
Which meant that I was hanging out with a lot of 30 and 31-year-old men way too young. I'm gonna use fake names, but the first time I met his friend Joe, he spent a lot of time talking about how his wife was pregnant and they were preparing for their first baby. Perfectly innocent and normal, right? Except when he was leaving, he called back to one of the other guys and said, Thursday, man shobs in Midtown? I was so young and naive, I thought that was like a code word for something, so later on I asked my boyfriend about it. He was like, no, they get man schmobs together in Midtown on Thursdays. A few months later, I meet Derek, another one of their friends who's in town from DC. Derek has 2 children, and his wife has cancer. Awful, right? Almost as awful as him having a play date with an...
You know, sweetie, a former colleague of mine from the dojo was also diagnosed with cancer. They had to cut off one of his family jewels, and as soon as he started chemo after the surgery, his 304 girlfriend dropped him like a bad habit. I call her a 304 because I pumped and dumped before they ever got involved, while he had to simp for her attention. And I did warn him about her, but he said he was in love. He also quit training for her before he got diagnosed. So yeah, get off your high horse. Women do it too. As for husbands not liking their wives, the answer is simple, sweetie. The more time you spend with someone, the better you get to know them. And the better you get to know them, a lot of women reveal themselves to be not only mid, but negative, bordering on liability. That's why a lot of husbands don't like their wives.
And that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so.